analyst, Colonel Cedric Leighton. Colonel, thank you so much for your time this morning. First up, I want to get your reaction to Secretary of State Blinken in Ramallah. He was just there meeting with Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority's president. What does that tell you, especially that he's engaging once again in shuttle diplomacy? He was just at the summit on Saturday, meeting with the foreign ministers of Egypt and Qatar and Jordan. What do you make of this?
Yeah, good morning, Amra. Well, I think what Secretary Blinken is doing is he's trying to shore up support among the Palestinian Authority as well as the Arab nations for a two-state solution. He would like the Palestinian Authority also to take over the administration of Gaza once Israel achieves its goals of destroying Hamas. Now, whether or not Israel can achieve those goals is, of course, another matter. But I think the goal of the Secretary of State is very much to get the Palestinian Authority, represented by Mahmoud Abbas, on his side and make that work for him from a political standpoint.
What are your thoughts on this 4-hour window for this safe corridor? That window is about to close at 2 p.m. local time. It's a little after 1 o'clock there. And Elliot brought up these issues, right? I mean, how do you even get these messages to all the civilians who are dealing with power outages and internet outages in Gaza? And let's say they do get the message. Of course, resources is a huge problem, right? Because no fuel, as we heard from the U.S. Special Envoy David Satterfield, no new fuel has gone into Gaza since the war began. How helpful do you think this quote-unquote safe corridor that the IDF is opening will be for the civilians to move south?
I think it's too short a time period. 4 hours is not enough time to get people out, especially those that have, that have special needs or are in a place where they can't really get transportation. And so far, to my knowledge, at least, we have not seen a stream of refugees on foot marching down, the Saladin highway there. Elliot's absolutely right. If you don't have any internet connectivity, if you don't have power, there's a risk that you might not get that message. The Israelis have in the past distributed flyers. They've airdropped flyers into the Palestinian areas to get them that kind of a message. Whether or not they did that in this case, I'm not sure. But the Israelis are definitely trying several ways to get the message to them. The problem that they have is it's not coordinated with other aspects of their military operation, or doesn't seem to be, at least.
There's a lot of aid still at the border that needs to get in. Of course, we're still talking about hostages that the U.S. and Israel are quite involved in trying to get released. But there's also what seems to be a public split that's forming between the U.S. and Israel. Is that how you see it? Because you have Netanyahu, who is saying there will not be any kind of ceasefire or a pause until all hostages are released. But then you also have the Secretary of State, Blinken, who is publicly stating there needs to be a humanitarian pause.
Yeah, the Secretary of State is trying very much to bridge the gap between the desire for a complete ceasefire and Israel's public stance, at least, on the issue of either a ceasefire or a humanitarian pause. In fact, they are doing some humanitarian pauses, like the one that's in existence right now. But the fact of the matter is that Israel has its war aims, and it believes it can't be seen to be deviating from them. And they think that this kind of a humanitarian pause may be a slight deviation, or a large deviation in their minds, perhaps, from their war aims. So the Secretary has a bit of a problem here in the effort to kind of bridge that gap. It's a very difficult needle to thread in this case.
So what's your sense, Colonel, of what's happening on the ground? Last we heard was on Friday that Israel had encircled Gaza City. What happens next?
Yeah, so I'm not sure that the encirclement has been completed yet, but it may have been by this time. But the encirclement is designed to, in essence, either besiege or starve out the Hamas fighters. Now, when they do that, and we see the map of Gaza right there in Gaza City in particular, that's kind of in the center of the Gaza Strip. And the idea there is not only to encircle that area, but also to make it possible for Israeli ground forces to enter a certain zone within that city and then be able to go in and, in essence, clear that zone. And that's going to be difficult for the Israelis to do. I think that might be the next step, but they're going to have to watch the tunnels. They're going to have to make sure that they don't get ambushed, and we also watch, of course, for improvised explosive devices. So those are the kinds of things, kinds of challenges that they have right now.
Yeah, a lot of risks going in there on the ground. Colonel Sedgwick-Leighton, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Still to come, 2024 Republicans exchange